Hear us okay, I assume?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get started. Let's start with Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Mitch. Could you sense maybe some extra, I guess for lack of a better word, fuel last year at training camp when coming off the AFC Championship loss? And how would you compare and contrast just the vibe or mood at this year's camp?
No, I didn't really feel that last year. I feel like the work is pretty consistent. It actually feels like it's more ramped up this year, whether that's just guys eager to play because of COVID and not being able to have OTAs and stuff, or whether it's feeling the urgency of, what we need to do to come off as defending champs and knowing we're going to get everyone's best shot. But this year, guys are flying around. There's a lot of good competition. Obviously, you've got a stacked roster, so you're going against someone who is almost at the best of their position pretty much every play, so it makes things pretty difficult.
Let's go to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Mitch. I was wondering with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think we've asked you something similar before, but now you've had a couple days of padded practices with the new running back, and every running back's a little bit different. I was wondering if there's any insight into the differences maybe for blocking Clyde that you didn't previously have.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you which plays he was in and which he wasn't. Those guys rotate through, and we just kind of get locked in on our job. And I think the awesome thing that we've seen and why guys are always so successful in this offense is, with EB and with Coach McCullough, they're teaching them so detail-oriented with the backs and what to do. And so, it could be any one of however many backs we got on the roster. They're coming in. They're all being taught the same thing. The footwork's the same. It's consistent. It's the same timing. Because, our job's hard enough trying to, move guys and trying to figure out where the defense is and who we got to block. And then if you had to say, oh, Clyde's in on this one, we got to do this special difference, that just doesn't work. So that's not something that, we really focus on. We kind of do our job. Hope they make us look good, obviously. And, the cool thing with him, and we all saw him in college, it's really awesome to watch and a lot of fun. And, typically in the first preseason game or two, you're able to kind of see those moves in real action. But obviously we aren't going to be able to see that this year. So it'll be fun to see it when we're able to, get to real football.
Go to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Mitch, can you explain what you would normally try to work on and get the most out of in a traditional preseason type scheme, and how that can be transferred to a practice where, like you said, you're going up against, similar guys every day in practice? And then secondly, since the Super Bowl, what do you thought has been the most impressive thing that you've sort of seen from Patrick so far in terms of getting the team ready and maybe getting himself to the next level for this season?
Yeah, for training camp, I think you want to kind of keep doing what you do at a high level. You don't ever want to kind of lose your core and your base. That's something that whenever I talk to a young lineman, I got into a spell when I was young, like, hey, this guy does that, or this guy sets like this guy uses his hands this way, and I tried everything, and I wasn't very good with it, and I realized I need to figure out what works for me. And so you kind of want to make sure you're, going with the cooking analogy, but you got a nice chef's knife that you like, make sure that knife is nice and polished and sharp, and then you can start branching off and using other knives. And so, using different pass sets or different change-up sets and things of that nature. And that's where you really want to work and get comfortable with things that aren't your bread and butter, and kind of progress through camp and try to add, more tools. Because just like a defensive lineman, a guy who's only got one great pass rush, eventually you kind of figure it out. As a lineman, if you only got one pass set, eventually they kind of time it, they figure it out. So it's working to expand that, working out of your comfort zone, really honing in on that. And that's, to me, what, training camp's about. Is it's weirdly, it's the time to fail. We've heard Pat talk about being able to throw interceptions and knowing what the limits are and things of that nature. Same for us. We got to learn our limits. We got to know what works and what doesn't. And getting to Pat, we've seen, seems like he was all over the place this offseason. He's got a lot of obligations and everyone wants a piece of him, but he comes in, he's in phenomenal shape, slinging the ball around, tons of energy. We've got keep stacking up those play calls, and he's getting them out with ease. And you can just tell that wherever he's been, his mind's been in football, and he's coming looking really sharp, and it's exciting.
Go to Sarin Petra. Go ahead, Sarin.
Mitchell, I'm curious. Number one, the team lost a couple offensive linemen, right, with the opt-out part of the equation, and now Eric Fisher has battled a concussion. Do you work any reps at all at left tackle, number one? And even if you don't, how quickly could you get comfortable if in an emergency you had to do something like that? And then as a second question, I'm curious, just the guys in the trenches, right, are the ones that really have to go face mask to face mask, really have to get close. And I know everyone at the Chiefs are doing everything they can in practice to protect COVID-wise, but you're going to have to go head-to-head with other teams. I'm just curious what your mindset is and your security of how the safety is going to work on that.
I mean, to the first part, I mean, I don't take too many left side stuff, but it's always there. I mean, you never know in an emergency. I mean, if a fish goes down, the next tackle goes down, we're kind of left with 5 guys. Like, I always got to be ready to go to any position, really, to be honest. I mean, that's something that, as linemen, we always talk about understanding the concept of the play within the play, but that also goes to being able to play any different position. I mean, if a guy gets hurt, you got to switch sides. So you always got to be ready. And then in terms of, playing against other people, I mean, I think the idea, I know the Chiefs have done just a phenomenal job in terms of all the safety regulations, guys taking it serious, doing the right thing, in the building, outside the building. And so, I can only imagine all the other teams are doing similar. Across the league, it seems like the numbers are doing really well. Like you said, it's kind of inevitable that you're going to get face-to-face. There's going to be, breath particles that could be in your way. And I think you just got to, have trust in the other team and the other guy that they're doing the right thing. And, we're doing testing every day. We've seen that get extended. Seems like, hopefully soon enough, there's some, day of testing potentially for game situations. But I think you're just trusting that, the teams have done everything on their part and we're doing everything individually, that when you do get to the game, you're going against a guy who's done his part.
Look, we've got one more. Let's go to Herbie. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Mitchell. I'm curious, from your point of view as the right tackle and also along with the front five, you guys get to practice against Chris Jones and Frank Clark, two of the league's probably top pass rushers across the league here. But what sets them apart from other duos? And as a right tackle, what do you have to do to keep in mind when you've got an elite pass rusher on the other side of you?
Yeah, the thing I first think of with those guys is their get-off, their quickness. Chris, for being as massive as he is, he's got as good of a get-off as anybody. I know Aaron Donald's crazy quick too, but, for Chris doing it at however much he weighs, it's insane. It's not really fair in practice. He tends to time that up pretty good on us. But it's that, and then also he's just so naturally powerful. You've seen throughout his career, guys say, oh, he plays too high, he plays too high. It's like, yeah, he can, because he's still launching guys playing that high. Most guys need to get, a lower pad level or better leverage or whatever, but he's so strong. He's able to do things from a different position than guys are used to. And so, if you're able to get that same bull rush, but you're not leaning quite as much, that allows you to work the hand moves. We've seen him be so deadly with those. And so he's just got, freaky athleticism and strength combined with a really refined, pass rush ability. And Frank, going against him, the thing is he just gets on you so fast in terms of stride length. He's just so explosive that those first 2 steps, it just feels like he's already by you essentially. And then from there, it's change of direction. He's able to spin. He's able to counter back inside. He's, a guy like that. People always kind of wonder, but he's not the hugest DN, but for a guy that size who's moving that fast with that much explosive ability, he's got a ton of power too. So you don't really know how to defend him because, he's by you. You overset that, he's inside, and you try to play both of that. You're on your heels, and he runs right through you. So you kind of feel helpless, honestly, and it's not the greatest feeling as a tackle.
Mitchell, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thanks.